Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Unit 6, Probability and Statistics. I don't know what comes to mind when you hear the word probability, but just to get you sort of on track, how many of you have played the game Uno or you Skip-Bo or Monopoly or Candyland, right? All of those games are really subject to probability. What is probability? Probability is the chance that some event or something will likely happen, right? And so if you're playing Monopoly, it is the chance that you're going to roll a 6. Or, if you are playing Uno, it is the chance that you're going to draw a wild card or a +2, so on and so forth. And so that is sort of the concept of probability. And so in today's lesson, in day 1, we are just going to look at being able to determine whether or not an event is an independent event or a dependent event. Okay, so in today's lesson, we're actually not even going to be determining the probability, but we're just going to be able to categorize the two different types of problems or situations and being able to know whether or not they are independent or dependent. All right, so let's again, that's what I just said. In this lesson, we're going to be able to compare and contrast whether or not two events are either independent or dependent. Okay, so let's go ahead and define probability again. Probability is a measure of change of a specific event occurring, right? And so it is written a lot of times as P and then something in parentheses. We have E for event, but if I was, choosing a blue marble, it might be P and then in parentheses blue, or P in parentheses 6 if I'm talking about how, the chance of me rolling a 6 on a dice. All right. When probabilities are written, they are written as a ratio of favorable outcomes to the total number of outcomes. So you have the chance that that event is going to occur over the total. Okay. So, and as it's written, it can be either as a fraction, a decimal, or a percent. Okay. And so probability is the chance that that event might occur over the total number of outcomes. All right. And again, in today's lesson, we're not going to actually determine what the probability is for certain events. We're just going to, all we're going to do is be able to categorize them and, compare and contrast them to say, is it an independent event and a dependent event? So let's get into it. Okay. What are these two types of events? All right. What is an independent event? An independent event is an event that is not affected by other events. Okay. And so when you find the probability of independent events, one outcome doesn't determine the other outcome. So for instance, when you toss a coin, right? If I toss a coin, say I toss it 2 times. The first time I have the option of getting a heads or a tails. The second time I also have an option of getting a heads or tail. What I get the first time doesn't affect the outcome the second time, right? They are independent of each other, okay? The same with spinning a spinner, right? If I spin a spinner, right, I have a chance of getting a green, a red, or a blue the first time in this spinner, all right? If I spin it a second time, the second, outcome, what happens is completely independent of what happened the first time, right? The first time doesn't determine what I'm gonna get the second time, okay? Same thing with a dice, right? If I roll a dice, what I get if I roll a dice 3 times in a row, okay? What I get each time is completely independent of what I'm going to get each time. Like, they don't affect the other, okay? And then this last example is really important. If I say I have a bag of marbles or cards or whatever, anytime I take an item from it, but then I put it back, if I replace it, then it's independent, right? So imagine I had, a set of marbles, okay? And I say I have 5. If I take one out, then I put it back, I'm still, the second time around of me taking out a marble, I'm still gonna have a total of 5, right? If I take it out and put it back, it does not change. It is an independent event, right? What I get the first time does not affect what I get the second time, all right? So if that is independent, you should be thinking to yourself, well, the opposite of that is dependent, and that's exactly right. A dependent event is an event that is affected by other events, okay? So let's go back to the marble example. If I have 5 marbles and I take out 1 marble, right, and I don't put it back, the fact that I took out a marble, now I have a fewer number of possible outcomes, so that is going to affect what the probability is of getting the second, what I get on the second chance, all right? So again, in this case, when you take something out or you remove it, it does affect, okay? So that is the difference, okay? So if it's independent, it is, the first outcome doesn't affect the second. If it is dependent, that means that the second time I do it is affected by the first. I take something out, I remove it, I don't put it back, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at a couple examples, and we are going to determine whether or not it's an independent or dependent event. And that is the lesson for the day. Again, we're not gonna actually determine it. We're just gonna say, is this an independent, is this not affected by by the outcomes, or is the first one affected? Does the first one affect the second one? So let's look at it. If someone has a stack of cards and they pick one card and doesn't replace it and proceeds to pick another, are these events independent or dependent? Okay. So again, in this first example, I'm taking out a card and then I'm not putting it back. So in this case, I have some cards, I take a card out, I do not put it back. Anytime I do not replace it or do not put it back, the probability of me getting a card the second time is going to be affected because I have fewer cards the second time. So in this case, this is a dependent event. This is dependent. Okay? And again, because I do not replace it. Okay? Number 2, you have a box of assorted chocolates. You randomly select 2 to eat. So you're taking 2 chocolates and you're eating them. You choose a milk chocolate first and then you eat it. Then you choose a white chocolate. Are these events dependent or independent? Okay. So if I got a box of chocolates, I'm taking 2 and I'm eating them. Are these 2 dependent, right, or independent? Does what I do the first time affect what happens the second time? And the answer is yes, right? If I eat a chocolate now, I know I have a fewer number than I had the first time, okay? And so whenever that number changes, okay, when I go to get it the second time, that is a dependent event. So that, again, this example is dependent, okay? It is a dependent event because the number of outcomes I have change. When the number of outcomes change, it is a dependent event. All right. Let's look at question number 3. Summer flips a coin and it lands heads up. She flips it again and it lands tails up. Are these independent events or dependent? Okay. This time I'm flipping a coin. If I flip a coin the first time, or Summer flips a coin the first time, then she flips it again. What I get the second time, is it dependent on what I do the first time? The answer is no, right? Because it's a coin, right? And coin is going to be heads or tails each time regardless. What you do on the first one is not dependent on the second one. So in this case, it is an independent event. Again, coins, all right, don't affect. It's heads or tails either time, okay, regardless of what you do. And then lastly, question number 4 says you flip a coin and you roll a 6-sided die. Now we got a coin and a die, which is just a dice. The coin lands heads up and the die shows a 1, right? What type of events are these? Are these independent or dependent? Again, if I roll the dice and I flip the coin, do those events change? Do the number of outcomes change after I do one? Then the answer is no, okay? Both of these are independent. Again, they're independent because, right, each time I'm either going to be able to get heads or tails on the coin, or I'm going to get 1 through 6 on the dice, right? That's it, okay? And those don't determine each other, right? It's the chance, it's not affected by what I get on the coin or what I get on the dice, okay? Now, so I've done a couple examples, okay? So I have 4 more that I want you to do, okay? So you have this table. I want you to read these and answer them. And then I also have this sort of word problem, okay? So for the table, I want you to just check whether or not it's independent or dependent, okay? And then for the table, I want you to just tell me whether or not it's independent or dependent after you read the problem. So I want you to pause this. I want you to do them yourself, okay? And then once you have the answer, I want you to continue playing the video and check your answer to see if you understand, all right? If you get it wrong, that's okay. You can feel free, raise your hand, ask a question, comment, or I'm also gonna have some practice problems in the next activity for you to get some additional practice, all right? So, all right, determine the probability that it will snow and that school will be canceled. Is that independent or dependent? That is independent, right? Whether or not it's gonna snow doesn't depend, like the chance doesn't change based on the day before, okay? So flipping 2 fair coins, when it says fair coins, that just means 2 regular coins, right? It has heads and a tail, right? It's not, doesn't have 2 heads or whatever. That one is also independent, okay? And spinning a spinner and rolling a fair number cube, again, this is also independent, okay? So, all right, I'm looking, maybe that first one, where is the probability that it will snow, is that dependent? Well, I'm going to say, I don't know, I think that one might be dependent, just because the probability that that school is going to be canceled is affected by whether or not there's a chance for snow. Again, the way I initially thought about it was just based on the previous day, and that, you know, that's probably not the best one, but we're going to end with saying that one is actually dependent. And then lastly, Keith has 20 towels in his bag that are the same size and shape. He has 5 green towels, 6 yellow towels, 9 blue towels. Keith will randomly select a green one from the bag and not replace it. Then he randomly selects a blue one from the bag. Are these 2 dependent or not? Again, once he takes out a green marble, he took 1 green marble out. Now the next time he goes to get another marble, there's going to be fewer marbles because he did not put it back. This is a dependent event. All right. Now, hopefully this has helped you understand the difference between independent and dependent variables. I have this Desmos activity that I want you to go back to Canvas and to complete. This is just going to be 10 problems where you read the different scenarios and determine whether or not it's independent or dependent, so you will get some more practice with this. But good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.